I'm not angry, I'm disappointed. It wasn't the first time I heard my mom say those words to me, but it was definitely the most memorable one. I don't think I was even 5 years old, and I was having breakfast with my mom, and she was explaining to me how her work was going to do a toy drive for kids who don't have enough money to get their own toys. And she said to me, and you know that bag of toys that you have downstairs that you haven't played with for a whole year, I'm going to go take some of those toys and bring them to work with me. She goes downstairs. I run after her. And the first toy she takes out of the bag is this, like, now we would call it a squishy. It looks like a pillow, but then if you unfold it, it like kind of becomes a monster. And it was like so cuddly and so ugly. And I immediately grabbed it from her hands and said, no, not that one. That's my favorite toy ever. I hadn't seen this toy in a year. Had not seen this toy in a year. And she looked at me and said, Eliana, I told you this is going to people who can't afford toys. You haven't played with that in a while. Can I have it back? And I said, no, this is my toy. You're not taking it. And she looked at me and said, I'm not angry. I'm disappointed. And I remember seeing her face and looking at me. And now as a mom, I also know, like, knowing that she was kind of questioning, like, how she's raising me. You know, like that was the type of face that I got, was like, who is this daughter that I'm raising? But it stayed with me. And some guilt around it stayed with me. I didn't really get it at the time. I was 5. But I got that something really wrong had happened, right? That somehow I did something pretty wrong that, again, didn't make her angry, but really did disappoint her. And it is amazing to me, thinking back on it, that actually it wasn't that it was wrong, but there was also something innate in us. There's something innate in us that I can now see in my kids. Something about, at such a young age, that we want to hold on so tightly to what is ours. We so early on think, this is mine, that's yours. And if I were to let go of what is mine, I won't have it ever again. Then it's gone, right? Then you'll have everything and I will have nothing. This is something innate to us. You can see it in children. It's why they fight over toys all the time. And I think we all think we get over it. I'm not so sure if we do. Not so sure if we do. But our Torah put some systems into place to help us at least behave as if we could act differently. So there's a few systems in place that the Torah gives us. We read about one this week, which is the system of Shemitah, a system in which every 7 years, all debt gets forgiven. Can you imagine that? We think we're going to get some money, and then the 7th year comes around, and we're just not getting that money anymore. Wild. The land lays fallow, so we don't work the land. That's sort of the most known one. Any private property that we got within those years that wasn't God given to us, right? So God sort of ciphers off the land, but then you can get more property as you go. Any private property that's given to you during those 6 years, now it's just public property. They could just build a playground on it. It's just not yours anymore. And interestingly, any food storage that you've acquired now goes into the public domain. Now it gets redistributed evenly across the population. That's wild. That's crazy. Totally countercultural to the way in which we act and behave. And the Torah makes no comment on the fact that the way we behave is bad or something. It's just sort of, it's not what we're going to do unless we put laws in place to not act that way, right? And it's actually a mentality change, right? There is a mentality of scarcity that if I give up the thing that I'm holding on to and give it to you, then I will no longer have anything. And the Torah has a mentality of abundance. No, there's absolutely enough to go around. There's absolutely enough for everyone to have. It just takes every 7 years for us to think about it, for us to think about it and redistribute it, for us to think about it and think about what is it actually that we need to live versus what is it that others can have. I want to be clear, I'm not like trying to go for a socialist world here. But it's just a little bit different. As Rabbi Jill Jacobs says in her book, There Shall Be No Needy, I think she says it beautifully, living through the Shemitah year without experiencing disastrous consequences may open people to a different sense of economic possibility. What a wild idea, right? That they would live through this year and then be okay, and that would change their whole idea of what it means to live with wealth, what it means to live with resources, that suddenly they would realize that perhaps everything they were holding on to, some of that could be let go. Some of that could go. We don't really practice Shemitah anymore. There is one coming up in 5789, and there's spiritual ways you can honor that if you want to. So without a Shemitah year, how is it that we could maybe get back into that mindset, right? Get back into the mindset of, or remind ourselves that we don't always have to hold on to everything white-knuckled, and that there's actually something freeing about letting some of it go and seeing what worlds we could create, what justice, what peace we could create if we let a little bit go. So this evening, we, as we do every single year, are partnering with Jews United for Justice on their national Shabbat called Labor on the Bimah. And one way to do this, or one way that they are doing this, is rethinking or helping Maryland and DC to rethink their tax system. To lift up things like education and housing for all as a value of our civic society. So if you want to learn more about that, we have amazing representatives who are both wonderful Washington Hebrew congregants as well as part of JUFJ, who are Jay Falk, raise your hand, hello, and Laura Loeb, right there. They are going to be at a table at Oneg after services and are happy to discuss with you how you can get involved in either of those projects, depending on where you live or where you're most activated to do some work. So that's one way that we could maybe change our mentality from a mentality of scarcity to a mentality of abundance. Another way to do that is a little bit more personal and comes from another system put into place for this, which is actually our tithing system. Our system that says in the Torah that we are supposed to give 10% of our earnings to the priests or to the poor, 10% of our earnings to some sort of civic thing. 10% is a lot. I'm not telling you to do that. But what that is saying is create a system for yourself, right? That our giving is not just seeing someone on the street and giving them $5, although that's good, but it's actually looking at our lives, looking at our budget, an extremely Jewish document, by the way, and saying, it really is, I'll tell you why in a second, looking at our budget and saying, wow, so this budget actually represents my values. And if I say that I care about education, if I say I care about housing, if I say I care about reproductive rights, if I say I care about the upcoming election, and that's not represented on my budget, then I need to make some different choices. I need to make different choices about how my resources are being used in this world. I need to make different choices about how my resources are bettering this world and not just bettering the life that I have. And that's a real shift in our thinking, because it means that that budget is not just your own, right? That budget is actually a budget that could create a better, more just world. It's a budget that could create more peace in this world, more equity in this world, more justice in this world. So what is the world that you want to see? What is the community you want to see? What is your own personal life and mindset that you want to see? And what are the resources that are needed in order to get to that world, in order to get to that community, in order to get to that life? These are really, really Jewish questions. And my God, I really hope we have Jewish answers for them. Shabbat shalom.